Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the New Fashion Conservatives. I'm your host, Justin Phillips, and with me is the man whose only tism is patriotism, the man known to the experts as Shadow Governor Voss.
Robin Voss's strongest soldier.
And today we're talking about the latest news from the governor's race. Tony Evers sent a nasty gram to Will and Wisconsin Family Action. But first, the most important news that broke just today, TT has endorsed TT. So Tommy Thompson has officially decided to not run for election in this governor's race and instead endorsed Tom Tiffany, which, of course, I think a lot of us knew was the right thing. I think, once the Trump endorsement dropped for Tom Tiffany, like that should have shut the door on virtually everyone else. But Tommy Thompson hung out there for a little bit and decided to tease us a little, but he's come full circle. And now we are probably the most united we've ever been in a statewide race in a long time.
It's a far cry from what 2022 was, which was an absolute utter disaster for us.
Mm-hmm.
So it is nice to have the good timeline for a change, one where we're not nipping at each other's heels, sniping each other. I mean, trust me, I love a good, spicy tweet every once in a while, but it is a good change of pace. And, I put something out there where the Democrats have been using this Tommy Thompson news, the Democrats were using the old Tommy Thompson chatter as like, they haven't coalesced around Tom. 50% of the Republicans don't even know who they're going to vote for in the primary for governor. And it's all fake talking points trying to sow division. Unfortunately for them, it was pretty weak. I think most of us could have assumed that Tommy was, there's like a 90% chance he doesn't run, but that's a solid 10%.
Yeah.
And they were banking on that 10%. And meanwhile, the Democrats, their primary continues to get larger, and ours continues to be at a solid single uno. And they they're just adding more people. They might add someone next week. Who knows at this point?
Right.
The limit does not exist.
There's still time.
There are still more time for more patriotic, democratic, socialist. You know what? Don't even stop there. Communist. Just open communist.
Maybe we should arm twist Kirk Bangstad into running as a third party candidate as a real way to stick it to the Democrats and send the message.
Working Families Party, because that the corporate Democrats that he rails against are going to try to kick him off the ballot.
Exactly.
So, this is the good timeline where Tommy Thompson, and he said in his statement, it was very nice, where he's like, I don't want to sow division. I want to do what's good for the party, which is good.
Yeah,
good for you. Good for the party. Yes, TT endorsing TT, and now I think we can put if there was any possibility of a primary, which was already pretty low, that is finally put to bed.
Yeah. Now, if I have to have any criticism, and I know it's light, but we've already kind of talked through Tommy, 2-3 times.
4 times.
It really shows where he's at and where he thinks the conservative movement is at, and maybe how far behind the times he is that he did this on WTMJ. It's not a conservative station anymore. Jeff Wagner's not there. Sykes pre-2016 isn't there. And, of course, all the Tommy people are now patting each other on the back, and they're all taking a victory lap. They're saying, well, Tommy called me and asked me personally what I should do. And, we're not here to make it about ourselves like they are. But, I don't want to spiral too much. I think
I'm just going to let bygones be bygones and just realize that today's been a great day. And not today, the last couple days.
Yeah.
The last week or so, there's been a lot of good things going on. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to get down in the mud and cast too many stones, but it's been a good week and I just want to keep it going. So Tom Tiffany, congratulations on being the presumptive nominee. Obviously, as we go into convention week.
United behind Tom Tiffany. That's huge. And certainly I think you said it last week or maybe the week prior that one of the things that really stands out is things are a little shaky when the left on Twitter is quiet. They seem to be really quiet now. Now that we've been more vocal on the Heartland Post, now that we've gained a bit of a bigger following on X over the past couple of weeks, and thank you all for listening to us and following us there, we kind of started to get some of those left-wing reply guys, and they've all kind of been quiet, or they've really been grasping at straws. But one of the tweets that really stands out to me this week that we got to talk about, leave it to Kyle Rittenhouse to get bitten by a spider, to vault himself back in the news. But NBC and David Lee, I believe is the name of the writer of this piece, probably did the most Orwellian gaslighting imaginable about the Kenosha riots, rebranding them a civil rights rally. So the tweet says, Kyle Rittenhouse, who gained fame for opening fire at a 2020 civil rights rally in Wisconsin, was hospitalized after he was bitten by a venomous spider, the noted firearms enthusiast says. So the tiers of leftist spin and gaslighting.
Firearms enthusiast? I mean, I guess that's probably charitable.
Yeah.
That's probably true. I mean, he certainly has become one now after the fact. But boy, sometimes it seems like, 2020 was an eternity ago, which it was. We're closer to 2030 than we are 2020. Crazy to think that's even a possibility.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking that, 2016 was only 4 years ago.
I know.
Now it's a decade. But this shouldn't surprise it. I think it's surprising in the fact that we've kind of, I don't say we've won to the point where this type of journalism doesn't happen anymore, but it's becoming rarer, and we just don't see that. This is blatant. I mean, obviously we're, Wisconsin podcast, Wisconsin political podcast, Kenosha was kind of in the backyard. And although Kenosha was a weird time, and, I wasn't necessarily sitting there glued to the TV. I mean, certainly heard about it, was, paid attention, but watching the Rittenhouse trial. Yeah. First of all, watched every second of it. Binger, the fat ADA who, just, I think we colloquially named him Lunchbox,
who just blew that trial.
Blew it. Granted, the case was not a good one for them to begin with.
But if I had if I'm sitting in a jury box and the DA pulls out the weapon that was used and aims it at me and pulls the trigger, you're losing my
you're trying
vote.
to just shock people.
Yeah. And it was just a disastrous thing. But we get to revisit that.
Yeah. And I remember watching that entire trial, like every second, just absolutely captured by it. And they showed drone footage. They showed all kinds of footage there was tons of videos, basically of every point in the night. We could see different parts firsthand, not just witness. And of course, we're seeing, one of the people that ended up dying. I can't even remember his name, other than that he was a child predator.
5-time convicted child molester.
Yeah. And I can't remember his name because he's not even worth remembering. But he was saying a lot of words. He was encouraging violence. He was pushing like dumpsters that were on fire towards like gas stations. This was no civil rights rally. No. And I don't know. Like, what is this journalist? And I use that word charitably.
Journo.
What was it? What is he trying to do? Like, did we not live through this?
Yeah.
Like, it's 6 years.
Does he really think? And of course, no one did, because if you look at, the millions of views and the thousands of comments and the dozens of community notes, it's so blatantly obvious that this wasn't journalism. This was agenda-driven ideological malpractice. But in Orwellian nature.
I don't understand. Like, usually you try to spin a narrative like right after it happens, not 6 years.
To 6 years later to create this sanitized, fake, it's the Orwell war is peace, riots are rallies, self-defense is opening fire.
Well, it's honestly, maybe it's something similar to kind of what the left likes to do with history books. It's like, enough time has passed. Maybe if I just slightly change some of the words, basically I can rewrite history essentially here. The problem is it's only been, in one hand, I say it's only been 6 years. In the other hand, it's been 6 years.
It's been about 5.5 since he was found not guilty.
Still a long time, or a short time, depending if you're trying to rewrite the whole narrative on this. But kind of another story in the another drop in the bucket of you are legally allowed to bully journalists.
Mhm.
They deserve it.
Yeah.
Because this is just, I can understand maybe a small mistake here and there, but this is just a rewriting of history, trying to frame a still. I mean, there are still people today that believe Kyle Rittenhouse killed like
Jacob Blake, probably
black people.
Yeah.
And that which he didn't.
Mhm.
And he was attacked and obviously trying to run towards the police line. Was completely justified. I mean, maybe he shouldn't have been there with a weapon. You think you could maybe argue that, but in the moment he was attacked and he was running away, trying to get away. I mean, I remember them even talking about the stippling of Joseph Rosenbaum.
Oh, okay,
that was
there you
his
go.
name. How they said, he just killed him in cold blood. Well, actually, no, he lunged at him.
Well, didn't one of them swing a skateboard at him?
Yep, one of them swung a skateboard at him, and then Gage Grosskreutz was the one that his bicep shot off.
Yeah,
had a gun. Also,
that's true. Yeah. He was a felon, convicted felon with a firearm.
Well, I don't remember
so.
him being a convicted felon, but I remember he had a concealed carry license that was expired. So
Okay.
he was illegally carrying at the time.
Maybe that's what it is.
But see, good memory. Good memory here from the case 5.5 years ago. Apparently better than the journalist. So this isn't surprising.
No, but it's just so,
nice to go down memory lane.
So blatant. It's just so over the top.
This is why we need to bully them online.
Yes. Yeah. And, again,
not for the sake
that
of
thing got that tweet got ratioed very well, but David Lee had not gotten his fair share of bullying for such a blatant exercise in Orwellian gaslighting.
Like I didn't even quote tweet it online because I'm like, I usually only try to quote things that I feel like I can offer something new, and everyone was like, civil rights rally, really? And I'm like,
yeah, but that's one of those things that leaked outside political Twitter, or political X. Like that one got to. I saw people quote tweeting that not political at all.
That got into the normie water table.
Yeah. So that was pretty disastrous moment. But it's a good chance to remind folks that Tony, this happened. This entire situation happened because of the failed leadership of Tony Evers during COVID and during the aftermath of the justified police shooting in Kenosha.
Of a guy with a
knife who was trying to kidnap his kids. Yeah,
from his baby mama. So nice to go down memory lane a little bit.
But something else we can go down a bit of memory lane on, and we talked about this I think on our first episode of the pod that we were dissatisfied with the direction of the Wisconsin GOP, especially Brian Schimming, who and it's been said many times, a very nice person, cool guy to be around. Not right for the chairmanship of the party at this time. And there are people who felt stronger, I think, than us on this, who are part of the executive board, who have been trying to rally other members of the e-board to vote to oust or no confidence vote Brian. And I think in the span of maybe 24 hours, that went from there's a vote happening to there's a vote not happening. And there are people who had signed a petition that they were going to do it to not do it. And from my perspective, I think it's not necessarily about getting rid of the chairman, but the timing of it is probably the worst possible moment you could have. Now, of course, we just saw that Tom Tiffany was endorsed by Tommy Thompson. Mm-hmm. The RPW convention is coming up next week in Wisconsin Dells. The worst time to oust.
There.
Right.
Try to find me.
Really?
Yeah. Try to find me.
Good for you. The worst time, though.
I'll give someone $100 if they can figure out if they can find me.
There's a handful of people who may know, but
they may know, but will they find me at convention? We'll see.
Okay. And I think the worst time to try to oust the chairman is in the run up to convention when we're supposed to be presenting this united front.
Yeah, so this is my thoughts on this are very complicated. Again, a nuance. I know everyone's looking from podcast bros from come out strong on some one issue, coming to being a hard lighter on something. But yeah, Tom Tiffany just got Tommy Thompson to endorse him. Okay, although I don't think that was going to be the straw that broke the camel's back if Tommy didn't, for example. And maybe he doesn't even endorse him. He just says, I'm not going to run.
Right.
However, it's nice. Okay, the Dems have an 8-way primary. nine-way if you consider Zach Roper or whatever that kid's name is.
I forget about him. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget about him too. They have a huge liability in their primary, okay? It would just be nice to have a unified moment all for once. And like that doesn't discount the problems that have happened with raising money.
Yeah.
Okay. That is obviously that is the job of the
problem
chairman.
Number one.
That is the job, is just to raise money. I don't think a conversation about, a lot of people, especially those that are super online, like the GOP doesn't message on Twitter enough. It's like, okay, sure, that's fine, but really, the amount of tweets going out from the GOP official page from Wisconsin is not going to be like the determining factor of winning an election.
That's D tier fixes as opposed to we need to talk about S tier fixes. Which
and I don't even
fundraising.
necessarily know if it's really that big of a problem per se, but yeah, it just comes down to money. That is literally all I care about. So, and at this point, right before convention, not a good time. It's just it's not a good time. Can we just have like a week of a good media cycle? It would be nice.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not discounting the problems, but people are going to say, "Oh, you're not calling for resign, then you're part of the problem." It's like, guys, things are more complicated than just, spurging out, or as I like to say, and then I didn't, of course, coin this term, but trooning out, where you just freak out and you just like, a vomit from the mouth, just words that because you can't control your emotions. But having some political instincts and just like would help a lot of people out.
Yeah.
So I just don't think it's the time or place right now. Let's get through convention. One thing that I don't think people understand, when Scott Walker won, he put a bunch of his people in RPW and they ran it
very successfully for several years. Yeah.
For years. If Tom wins, Tom is not going to, I don't think Tom is going to win because, maybe RPW is like the difference maker. Tom is going to win because he's Tom Tiffany. He's a unique guy with a good record, with a unique personality,
good message,
good messaging, picking the right messages, performing on a debate stage, going to multiple events. Okay.
And because the Democrats are fractured.
Yes. And capitalizing on that too. The GOP, the state party, what's the word? Accentuates those things. They're not there to be their own necessarily entity. I mean, they can be, but they're supposed to help the candidate. We talked about this after the April election. The state party is not to be like the stand-in for the candidate. Okay. Yes.
They tried that. They tried that with Dan Kelly and it didn't work.
Well, in state parties or the parties, they poll popularity. The Republican Party and the Democrat Party are underwater. The Democrat Party even more. But people believe in candidates more so. So obviously, yes, we need a strong party, 100%. But Tom Tiffany will win because he's Tom Tiffany. Certainly if there isn't enough support from the state from the state party in certain aspects, that can be a hindrance. That's not the end all be all.
You can overcome that, especially when you have organizations like AFP coming in and running a very tight ground game, and they know what they're doing. And then, if RAC and SIRS recruit some solid candidates, that's going to cover those swing districts. If they're knocking doors in those swing districts and working hard, it helps the top of the ticket as much as the top of the ticket helps the lower end of the ticket. But you mentioned polling, and I do want to talk about one thing. So a couple weeks ago, maybe a week ago, we got this, a lot of us did. And I think if you're listening to this, you're probably someone who might have gotten this text that came from
you're on a list somewhere that someone bought
from a 262 Google number that sent out a poll on should we replace Schimming or not. And as it just turns out that roughly the same time that the vote to, or we found out that the e-board did not have the votes to oust Schimming, results of that poll showed up. So anyone who responded to this poll, and again, I did, I got the poll. It was like, do you want Brian Schimming to be the Wisconsin GOP chairman? Yes or no? I responded. Nothing from that. So this was like clearly like someone from a Google account, because it wasn't an automated message, because I would have gotten some immediate, like, thank you for doing this, blah, blah, blah. Here's a link to something. So I got a message today at 5:40 p.m. Like I said, I think a lot of other people did too, that said the WISC GOP polling results are in. 7 out of 10 WISC GOP members agree that we need a new leadership ahead of the November election. WISC state convention is May 15th to 17th. Wisconsin Dells, sign up here. Reply stop to end, because of course they try to fake creating a mass message.
Mm-hmm.
And then the poll results did say that, according to this, 70% said they supported change, 18% said no, and 12% are neutral. Now, what I think is funny about that, or what really stands out to me, is not that this poll happened, not that these results are any bit unsurprising, but immediately when that first text went out, people from Turning Point denied sending it. People from the disaffected or the disillusioned county party chairs denied sending it. The people on the e-board who wanted him out, rumored, denied sending. Like everyone who was the top contender said, denied sending this. And then today, as it turns out, some of those people posted those results of that and said, oh, look at this, look at these results. So, don't lie to me and tell me you didn't do this poll and then be like, oh, look at these surprising results I have here. It just seems so disingenuous, and so
it works against
it's a
you.
lie.
Yeah.
Like someone from one of those organizations, and I'm not going to say which Turning Point one, lied to my face about this. And I truly think it was them that did it. And frankly, I think, again, knowing what we know about who's on the e-board and whatnot, it wouldn't surprise me if they did. And then they're also the people they're the dog chasing the car. And if they get rid of Schimming, they have no idea what they're going to do on day one. Like, that's a whole nother issue. And that's what really stands out to me too, is like, there's no plan in place once you get rid of it. There's no person waiting in the wings. The people we have talked about are kind of pipe dreams. Rebecca Clayfish is not going to do it. Robin Voss is not going to do it. We'd love both of them to do it. It's just not going to happen right now for those two people. As well as, again,
probably ever.
Find someone. Yeah, probably ever. But you can't find someone else.
Yeah.
So, again, very disingenuous.
Kind of upheaval for the sake of upheaval.
Yeah.
Again, we're not doing this. I'm not doing this to be popular with one group or another. Because nuanced takes, some people might call it, fence sitting. Or you're couching everything. Like I do. I like Turning Point. I like a lot of stuff they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I have questions as well. I think we have improvements, but I do the same thing with the state party. I mean, we started this podcast complaining about things regarding the state party, what we thought could be improved. So, I'm an equal opportunity offender here when it comes to this stuff. So it just seemed, a bit disingenuous. It's like, look at this. Look at these results here. This is pretty funny. What do you guys think about this? It's like, guys, I can, it's like, don't lie to me. Okay. You guys, there's something to be gained by Brian Schimming being removed as chair. Mm-hmm. There's an opening. Someone's going to have to fill that opening. Okay. Who benefits from that? I want people to ask themselves who benefits from that. Yeah. Use some critical thinking when people, I understand, the world moves very quickly sometimes and we don't stop to think about what are the intentions behind this? And I'm not even saying that they're entirely nefarious or that I disagree with some of the things in principle, but it just seems very opportunistic. Oh, right before convention, we're going to, Brian Schimming is really unpopular. We should do something about it. It's like, again, this entire point is pretty much moot because if Tom wins, Tom's going to want to do what Tom wants to do with the state party because he proved he can win. Okay, well, let's put the winners in charge. And I don't know who that is. I don't know who those people are or how many there are, all that stuff. But that's kind of the reality. Okay, so let's just hope Tom wins and we can deal with all this stuff a little bit later.
Yes. And
I'm not saying that like, we just sweep all the problems underneath the rug. I'm kind of like, this is the reality of the situation. We can deal with it, right? Or we can pretend that we live in a fantasy land that we can fix all the problems right on the fly.
I've had some good conversations with some friends that, we talked about maybe writing this as a column for the Heartland Post that like Brian Schimming is the face of the problems. There's still, like I said, some systemic stuff and some issues within the party that need to be fixed. And it's at the e-board level of people who have been there since day one of the Walker administration and have grown lethargic and apathetic. And our ground game and communication has atrophied, and we are not as successful as we should be. And it's not where we were in 2010. Like that trajectory has not been a straight line up. And that's what we need. But Brian, again, is the face of that. And, I think they threw this poll out there thinking that maybe they'll get a vote of no confidence at convention. But I hope some cooler heads or some smarter heads prevail and realize that now is not the time to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. And maybe this is just us being super online, being, in the party where we don't want the headline. First it was the resolutions. Mm-hmm. We get the resolutions saying that, college kids shouldn't vote or something. That was, I remember that, but that got shot down. Mm-hmm. Well, the Journal-Sentinel can't report on that then. Yeah. Although they can say that it was discussed, but they can't say.
Right. And the same thing with I think there was some abortion stuff that was discussed in the past or something, that was, a hot button issue in 22 and it's something you just got to
party platforms are kind of
stupid.
Gay.
Yeah.
So that's a whole thing. That's a whole other conversation.
Didn't the RNC got rid of theirs, didn't they? It wasn't like they passed a one vote or something. It was like just a generalized thing.
An omnibus, but it was pretty general.
And that's what needs to happen.
Because
because all that is doing is creating a situation for the legacy media.
It's a purity test that only works against us.
Exactly.
It's kind of like when Dan Schaefer quote tweets a tweet about a statute of Trump that was being dedicated, and a pastor was praying during the commemoration, and statue happened to be gold, which didn't necessarily help the case. He's like, well, I want to see all those Christians talk about this right now. It's like, it's only been your religion or your viewpoints are only being weaponized against you.
Right.
Okay. They're not
by people who don't believe them,
yes,
by the way.
Yes,
yeah.
By people that don't actually believe them. They're just, they're taking them, your principles, morals, sticking the mirror up in front of you and saying, you're a bad person for believing.
We want to have a long form conversation on how Jesus says, love everyone, and that love thy neighbor. Sure. And I want to go and say, Dan Schaefer's an asshole. He's gonna be, well, that's not very Christian of you. And Jesus said, love thy neighbor. Like, so.
Yeah, well, Christ tied a braided cord, and drove out the taxpayers. So, or sorry, not the taxpayers, tax collectors.
Yes.
But again, that's a whole nother issue.
And no, I think this will be something we're going to have to dive into, maybe post convention, especially if you're there on the ground, assessing or monitoring the situation. Maybe John Leiber can sneak me back in or something like that, and I can be there too. I don't know yet. But you're right. There is this deserves a longer discussion if and when some action is taken. But I think we kind of stick to what we already believed, is that at some point, yes, RPW needs a full teardown. And it starts with Brian, but it doesn't start right now. So next thing I want to talk about, we got to get into a little bit of policy and things that are kind of going on the left. So earlier this week, Tony Evers sent a nasty gram letter to Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty and Wisconsin Family Action. So for those who maybe don't know or aren't following this one very closely, the Supreme Court recently ruled, I believe in March, on an 8-1 ruling, which is a very classic, I think, everyone versus Ketanji Brown Jackson, that Childs v. Salazar, which is about quote unquote conversion therapy. So I believe it was, in this case, I think it was Oregon, or Colorado, had outlawed, again, quote unquote conversion therapy, which is maybe Christian-centered talk therapy to help gender dysphoric children explore their feelings, understand their onset confusion, and work through underlying mental health issues regarding their sexuality.
Yeah, I think that's a very charitable way to put it. Yeah.
But according to, again, these state laws, they said that was unprofessional conduct. And Wisconsin is one of the states that is now openly defying the Supreme Court's ruling on Childs v. Salazar. And Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty and Wisconsin Family Action sent a letter to Governor Evers. And I'm going to read a little bit from his response, because they had said that you need to, the administrative rule needs to be repealed. And so his response from Tony Evers was, I write today to inform you that my administration has no intention of repealing Wisconsin's conversion therapy ban. It is disappointing that you right-wing advocacy organizations wasted no time enthusiastically taking up the mantle to restore a long disavowed and outdated practice that decades of scientific and medical research have demonstrated is at best ineffective and at worst dangerous because it substantially increases risk for depression, suicidal tendencies, blah, blah, blah. Surely the harmful effects of conversion therapy should have compelled Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty and Wisconsin Family Action not to pursue this effort. On the other hand, this should come as no surprise. After all, bullying LGBTQ kids and Wisconsinites seems to be an important goal for Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty and Wisconsin Family Action. Now, I just want to highlight the blatant and completely surprising hypocrisy from the Evers administration to say that a practice that decades of scientific and medical research has determined is at best ineffective and at worst dangerous because of substantial increases to risks of depression, suicidality, and substance abuse, post-traumatic stress, and anxiety, among a variety of other harmful impacts, is actually transing your kids. And I just see that there's this great disconnect on the left to say one of these things is okay and the other one is not. But both of them want to get to the root causes or, again, the mental health issues that are going on. But one of them says, affirm whatever gender your kid thinks it is. Get them on hormone blockers and puberty blockers. Get them their surgeries. And the other one says, let's talk about it. Maybe you're not this way. Maybe we need to work through these issues. It's wild to me that, again, the left is immediately knee-jerk reaction is listen to the 7-year-old that thinks they're trans, not talk to them about their feelings.
Well, two major things. One being, I love that the justification is this Christian counseling that's basically just not outright affirming will cause depression. Because believe it or not, actual therapy, not just affirming, can be difficult. And believe it or not, when people go through withdrawals or addiction, they usually don't always want to go through it. And it can actually be difficult. But of course, liberals have this dogma ideology, and this is, basically speaks to their worldview that anything that kind of is difficult or it's not how I want it, it's the world's problem. It's not my own problem. And it's a kind of a shucking of responsibility. And for a kid, obviously that's tough because they're kids and they're still developing and they're still figuring out the world. So the idea that, because someone gets depressed, well, depression has increased, therefore this is a bad thing. It's like there's a lot of things that make people depressed. And I don't think we should just be affirming this viewpoint just because it makes them sad.
Right.
But we're kind of missing we're missing a huge thing. This was an 8-1 decision and Evers can just ignore it.
Yeah.
Whoa. Rule of law. The Democrats love the court.
This is an affront to democracy.
God, this one really grinds my gears so much. I don't want to hear about democracy. I want to hear about we need to fight for our democracy and the Constitution. Again, it's a mirror holding up to you, pointing it at you. Okay. Using our democracy, quote unquote, against us until they just actually, no, we're going to ignore it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of right-wing figures and even myself, and I'm not necessarily including those as one thing, have a lot of qualms or a lot of concerns about the courts and how we just basically have Reddit people in these high courts that can just do universal injunctions and just basically stop the will of 77 million Americans with with some screed in the form of a legal opinion. But then Evers can just be like, no, I'm just 8-1. Nope.
And you're right. It's 8-1.
Yeah.
And it's because Ketanji Brown Jackson is an absolute buffoon.
Yes.
She's a moron.
Yes.
It's to the point, I think some of the opinions coming out now are Alito being like, we need to stop her from talking.
Yes.
She is doing a harm to the court by being there.
Their credibility in the court is being...
And the thing, and Sotomayor and Kagan are also like, she's pretty freaking stupid.
Yeah.
It's, again, when these 8-1 decisions happen and Ketanji Brown Jackson is, well, I like it, and it's written in freaking crayon or
Evers
finger
is
paint.
on the side of that.
Yeah. And
Evers...
again, you're talking about something that is now we're seeing the rubber band snap back. You're seeing kids who did go through those trans surgeries, those puberty blockers, those hormone replacements, coming to regret those decisions and realizing the grave consequences they made because the idiots that they trusted in authority just automatically affirmed their worldview when they were 8 years old.
Yeah. So I everything you said about the conversion, quote unquote, conversion therapy, which is a false premise to begin with. But people are kind of forgetting. It's almost so pedestrian that this is just like a B tier story. Okay, Evers sent a letter. Okay, basically being angry, and of course he didn't write it.
No, this has Britt Cuddebacker, Zach Madden's fingerprints all over it.
And so, but they're just ignoring the court. I'm sorry. I don't have any other commentary, which is like, I'm sorry. Did you guys just all of a sudden become dictator? Like, we could just ignore the court. Okay, the precedent's been set. I guess we can just ignore the Wisconsin Supreme Court then when we want to. What if it's an 8 or like, sorry, we don't have 9, but you know what I mean? We go right to the conversion therapies part of this story, and people have completely forgotten that. I guess he just doesn't care about the balance of power or whatever stupid jargon they decide they think up in one day. But
speaking of ignoring the courts or ignoring the rule of law, got to talk about this story that came out of Madison. So federal immigration authorities are urging officials in Dane County to not release a Nicaraguan national facing 2 counts of second-degree sexual assault involving elderly victims at an assisted living facility. So U.S. ICE lodged a detainer for Julio Cesar Morales Jarquin, who was arrested for the acts at a Fitchburg facility. Dane County, being a sanctuary jurisdiction, routinely refuses to honor ICE detainers and has had, in some cases, given agents less than 30 minutes to take custody of criminal illegal aliens before releasing them. And in this case, again, DHS has to come out in Vance and be like, please don't let this guy who's committing sexual assault on elderly victims out.
Didn't they have dementia too?
It's possible. I mean, I think that when you're living at a care facility,
I don't think that the DHS press release had that, but the person may have had dementia as well. Again, not confirmed, but I thought I saw that being pushed out there. If Governor Hong becomes a reality, okay, and the fact that DHS even has to put this out is just a damnation on our society to begin with. The governor candidates, but Governor Hong being the most likely nominee at this point, has been very clear about cutting all ties with ICE, with the federal government, 287G agreements, which is literally what DHS is saying. Hey, we launch a detainer. Hold on to that person. Don't release them. Let us pick them up. Okay? Those are going bye-bye. So you might say, Francesca Hong might say, okay, he committed a crime. He should go to jail, which that's even a stretch to that point because
they don't believe in jails.
They don't believe in the police, abolishing prisons, basically just having like weird work release programs for people essentially. But under a Governor Hong administration, this person might serve time and maybe not even that much time, but instead of being notified by ICE to come pick them up and deport them to the sad place that they came from, they just get released back into your community. Just like if you had served 10 years and you're an American citizen, you just get released back into society to figure it out for yourself. So I know there's a million of these stories. So, and I've of course railed against all of them. All million of them I've probably talked about. But to put it in perspective of actually what can happen, Sarah Rodriguez, of course, talking about behind a curtain, she flip-flops on. First she says that would be okay with ICE in certain circumstances. Then she flip-flops. Who knows what she actually believes? She's floundering, except for she got the endorsement of like the nurses.
Because
she's a nurse. Okay, big deal. The Lieutenant Governor's Associate said they were going to pledge like $1 million, but I haven't seen any of that money.
That money's. We're talking about money that needs to be spent. Like, you're running out of time, girl.
Yeah, it's less than 100 days or whatever. Point being, though, Sarah might be the most charitable to ICE, at least based off of what we've seen. But none of the Democrats, none of them. With Minnesota, with all the Operation Metro Surge, there is no Democrat that can be even appear to be somewhat pro-ICE in a primary and expect to win. And certainly the front runners, Francesca and Mandela, would let these people out. And I know, Tony Evers with his parole board, there's plenty of bad stories. Compound that by the worst of the worst. We're not talking paroling people. We're just talking about people that served maybe a little bit of time and just get instantly
catch and release.
Catch and release. So horrible story. And it should not happen in any circumstance. So let's not allow the Democrats to have that fantasy where they're allowing just foreign illegal nationals back into our community after they've quote unquote served time.
So the other issue that came out of Dane County this week was a judge ruled Friday that a state agency can publish rules as soon as the governor approves them, siding with Governor Tony Evers in his lawsuit against Republican-controlled legislators. So Judge Nia Trammell issued a decision challenged the legislature's practice of reviewing publication of rules before rules go into effect. That's called administrative review. The ruling addresses an ongoing dispute over executive authority and legislative oversight of administrative rules. So now the governor signs any sort of executive order or creates any sort of administrative rules, and they automatically go into effect. And the first thing I thought of was the Mitch McConnell quote of, "You'll regret this, and you may come to regret this a lot sooner than you think." Now, what this does right now is, again, gives Evers a level of dictatorial power that no previous governor has had, because if you're going to create an administrative rule, it has to go through administrative review. Now it doesn't. Now it automatically gets published and it's in effect immediately. And I can imagine what the Tiffany campaign or what the Tiffany governorship is going to look like on day one, having had this handed to him. And it will only force the court to show its kangaroo banana republic levels of hypocrisy by having to overturn themselves based off this. But yeah, looks like Tony Evers gets a free pass on creating rules whenever he wants or about whatever he wants. And instead, the legislature has no power.
So I am, boy, this one really, boy, lots of thoughts on this one. Yes. Tom Tiffany should have a list of things that he could do on day one and just really make them regret this. However, some people on the right and some people on the left decry the ability for rule by executive order in the federal government. Obama comes in, passes a bunch of EOs. Donald Trump comes in, does a bunch of EOs to undo those, and then does his own. Joe Biden gets elected, he does a bunch of EOs to overturn them, and it's just back and forth. There's no consistency, okay? And that's really hard. It's really hard to govern like that for like 4-year swings or even 8-year swings. It's not healthy, really. If we're talking from an institutional level, it's not healthy. And then people think that essentially they are a king, where you can just sign and something happens, when it's actually much more complicated than that. And then those things can go bye-bye. And then politics becomes much more existential, where you have these big swings back and forth, instead of actually signing legislation into law. And it's much harder for it to actually be changed. And that's why Obamacare is still around, because it got signed into law. Okay? You can't just do an EO and just change it. You can maybe tweak things, but you can only do so much. So Wisconsin is not the federal government, but this is like a huge step towards that. Okay. And do I want Tom Tiffany to abuse the hell out of this?
Of course.
Absolutely. Just go crazy. Basically tie the Wisconsin Supreme Court up with so many lawsuits, because all the liberal groups will sue over every single one of them, that they have to work, because they are the least working Supreme Court, I don't want to say of all time, but certainly in recent memory, that they don't take many cases. Well, you're about to learn how to do work here. But it's not healthy.
No.
It is not how things are supposed to be done. And I'm not trying to be here and be like, oh my gosh, we have to do things the way that we're supposed to. But I don't want to have to go back where we just do these massive swings back and forth, where, yes, the legislature should have to pass bills and sign to law. And if the executive departments want to pass rules, they have to be then reviewed by the people that actually, the bureaucrats don't get voted in.
Yeah.
Okay. and they're writing these rules. The legislature should have some say in it. So between this, and I believe it was the Markeline versus Evers legal decision, which basically eliminated the ability for JFC, because that was the whole Knowles-Nelson, I believe.
Yeah.
It was the Knowles-Nelson stewardship program where it was approved in the budget, and JFC wouldn't release the funds. So they sued over it and said they didn't need to basically have that review. So Evers is saying that this is restoring balance, the balance of power. It's complete nonsense. He's just taking legitimate legislative authority that has been there forever and giving it to the governor. He is, in fact, being, quote unquote, a king, or giving more power to just faceless bureaucrats that aren't accountable to voters. And I know this seems like maybe some boomer, like OG originalism or whatever, but this is bigger than the maps. This is bigger than, I think, any story, frankly, but no one knows about it. No one really cares because it's kind of in the weeds, niche. And I'll shut up about it.
Like, what do you know about joint administrative rulemaking? Like that's more foreign than executive orders.
How can we get people to care about this? Because this is, it has the ability to screw up so many things. Like we talk about that 1,700% increase in DAT cap fees for farmers.
That goes in immediately.
Yeah, it goes in immediately. No questions. They literally stroke of a pen, a bureaucrat or a couple of bureaucrats can just make something up. Okay. And this is, I know that we like to make fun of Francesca Hong for being a Democratic Socialist of America candidate and kind of a crazy person and abolish the police, or what did she say? Defund the police in a effort to abolish the police. Francesca Hong, even with a Republican legislature, could be extremely damaging. Yes. At least Tony Evers, and I'm not trying to be charitable to him, but I think he still somewhat believes in the institution.
I think he's also asleep. I mean, he's late term Joe Biden.
Francesca Hong with a bunch of DSA people would screw stuff up.
Yes.
Instantly, forever. Cataclysmically. And with almost no ability for us to stop her except for just suing.
And then losing in Dane County court because we have to sue in Dane County court because that's where the administrative rules.
It would be horrible. And they got the crazier ideas. And if they win, they're not going to be thinking about, what are the politics of this about going to be? They're just going to go balls to the wall. And so this is bigger than the maps. Obviously that's huge. That is probably second, but I think this is honestly bigger. So sorry, that was my soapbox.
With the Shadow Gov hopping off his soapbox, we got to get into some candy, and the candy this time is even still within campaign politics and state government. And the first one, of course, comes to our good friend, Kirk Bangstad, who has gone on several tirades recently.
Patriot.
Yes.
Kirk Bangstad.
Who recently decided to talk about his former consultant and fundraiser, Rebecca Cooke. And he made a Facebook post. I'm going to pull this up quickly maybe and maybe read from it a little bit. But the gist of it is that he endorsed Rebecca's opponent in her primary. And we don't talk about this primary very often. Rebecca Cooke has not gotten the free pass to go through yet. And he did that because Rebecca Cooke, he accused of theft. He stated that Cooke stole names from his list of donors while serving as head fundraiser for his short-lived 2016 bid against then-Rep. Sean Duffy and used them to raise funds for her own campaigns against Derek Van Orden. So that is a big accusation.
That is a very big accusation.
Yeah. And so he says that Cooke is Machiavellian and will seemingly take any position needed to raise funds for her campaign, including positions of the Third Way Foundation, a front by special interests to buy influence from corporate Democrats. Cooke has also been lambasted by Track AIPAC, which is, I think, the Israeli AIPAC group that tracks money flowing from pro-Israel special interest groups that buy American politicians so they'll continue to fund Israel's genocide against Palestinians and their endless war in Iran. So again, Kirk claiming scalps.
I mean, there was someone put something online the other day, and it's like, how do we not know that Kirk isn't like a right-wing psyop at this point? Because that sounds like me on Twitter.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, Wisconsin aside, was the Virginia referendum got overturned by the Virginia Supreme Court. The Democrats nationally are just absolutely blackpilling, turning out, injecting HRT. Like they're losing it. It's over.
Right.
We've lost.
Not only have they lost the 9 or the pickup of 4 seats in Virginia, they're about to lose any holds in Tennessee, Louisiana, Alabama. I think they're down to 4 in Florida with the new map. They're down
South
to like
Carolina
8
was
in Texas or something.
One.
Yeah, Missouri. That got overlooked, but Missouri drew out like one black Democrat in St. Louis or in Kansas City.
And apparently Utah had a redistricting case where they basically actually created one. Well, apparently one of the Supreme Court justices resigned for having an inappropriate relationship with one of the lawyers.
Golly.
So we might actually be able to redistrict the redistricted Utah and get one more seat there.
Yeah.
Now that's I don't know.
Again, this is stacking on top of
I'm getting goosebumps just
I know
that's
stacking on top of the fact that the census that's upcoming is projected to add 9 somewhere between 6 and 12 conservative seats or seats in conservative states, but they're going to lose a lot in Illinois, New York, California, Connecticut, blue states.
But my point being with that entire tangential point is the fact that it's been a bad week for Democrats. And so I was, doing a little bit of trolling, as they say, on the social media. And, so going into the liberal comment section saying, as a lifelong Democrat, we need to show those Democrats that the Democrat Party leaders that we mean business. And I'm going to be sitting out the midterms and 2028 to show them a lesson. And
you got a couple of responses that were like, I love your introspection. You're the first Democrat that really has the foresight. Like, oh my God, just chef's kiss.
Yes. So that's basically what Kirk Bangstad is doing. He's basically pretending to be me, honestly, at this point.
Yeah.
Because that's what I would say. Because I love absolutely going into like Tony Evers' comment section being like, you're not talking about the genocide in Gaza enough. Like, I'm sitting out the election because you're not talking about the genocide in Gaza. Kirk is literally just like, he is the encapsulation of like just what every right-wing person thinks of liberals.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's amazing. But he's actually real.
But who's scared about this is the Dem establishment. So this was in WisPolitics. It got shared around is that right now they think they can challenge Bangstad's 2,000 signatures. Like they're already planning to go through, and I'm sure they're going to cold call people on every page to confirm that they signed because, as we've pointed out, the Heartland Post, there's been several instances on his nomination papers that are wrong. And we're talking about the little things. We're talking about the big things. He put his there's a line on there for mailing address, which could be different from your home address. And really what it is about is like parts of Lake Country, some small towns where their nearest post office is actually in a nearby village. I know in Lake Country where, kind of where we are, if you're in the village of Neshota or, you might actually have a mailing address in Shaniqua or vice versa. I don't necessarily remember, but that's the point is you could have a mailing address and your postal address being a little bit different. That's where this change is supposed to come. Well, he decided instead of putting his Madison apartment, he put his business address because what he really thought mailing address is where you should
want them to mail
it to.
Because Kirk's an idiot.
Yeah. And then when it says there's a section for when the date of the election is. Now, what you're supposed to put is no matter what, even if there is or isn't a primary, you're supposed to put the general election.
Which it says general election on there.
And he put
the primary.
Again, there's
idiot.
Yeah, and there's at least one other thing in there. I think it's where the county is listed as Wisconsin or something like that. Like his papers that he put online that was encouraged people to print off are wrong. Now, of course, he can cure them.
Yeah.
But
it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So needless to say, I'll be circulating nomination papers. Tom Tiffany's got enough. Sorry, Tom. You got plenty.
He's going to get 10,000.
Patriot Kirk Bangstad needs assistance. I'm calling on all of our listeners to download Kirk's nomination papers and sign Okay. We need this man on the ballot. It is your patriotic duty to ensure that Kirk Bangstad is not silenced by corporate Democrats and is on the debate stage to take on naive Francesca Hong and corporate Democrat Mandela Barnes.
Love it.
I approve
Love
this
it.
message.
Now, speaking of another Democrat, though, this is something that was also in,
Yes.
I think, a recent Wiz Politics thing.
Yes.
I'm going to read for a little bit right now, but something we joked about and I thought was brilliant a couple weeks ago, and I'm saying it was brilliant because I wrote it for the Heartland Post, is that Kirk Bangstad has a dream. And we called out that Kirk Bangstad went on the Christian Lyerly podcast.
Kirk Bangstad?
Sorry, Joel Brennan. Joel Brennan has a dream. Let me start that over.
The one of the two white guys.
Yeah, mixed up the white guys. So, sorry. Joel Brennan, who I wrote on the Heartland Post about, has a dream because he went on the Christian Lyerly podcast.
Yeah, you heard about this weeks ago.
Yeah. Go back and check out that episode. But he talked about wanting candidates to be chosen by the content of their character and their values and their vision. And he says, we're not quite there yet as a state. And he said that as a white guy.
Ugh.
Now, some parts of the left have picked up on this. And
I think that's putting it lightly.
Yeah. And the thing is, when the left picks up on these sort of things, and even though it's Drake Bentley at the Milwaukee Courier, I think Molly Beck did something on this. When they're doing this, it's because it's to be in service of another Democrat. When they're trying to shank Joel Brennan for some wildly silly comments about race as a white guy in the Democratic primary.
Gosh, how do you do that?
So they picked up on it, and that's, again, because they want someone like Francesca Hong or Mandela Barnes to get across the finish line. And it came out that there have been rumors that there's an independent expenditure group being formed to support Joel Brennan through his, I guess I would say, his corporate or NGO elite friends.
Because I'm sure he's got plenty of.
Yeah, of like the Greater Milwaukee Foundation and Badger Action Alliance want to come out in support of Joel Brennan. And they have to knock him down a peg before, I guess when I say they, I mean the corporate.
Toxic.
Yes,
they have to make him politically toxic.
Yep.
To scare people off.
And when I say they, I mean, of course, the hacks journos at the Journal Sentinel and Milwaukee Courier.
Because the Democrats' money machine, they have plenty. However, when you have 9 candidates, I guess 9, I can never remember, is 9 including Kirk? I think so. When you have 9 candidates, only so much special interest money can go, and everyone wants that money to go somewhere and be actually useful. They want it to be impactful. Everyone wants to pick that winning horse, and so everyone's kind of tentative, tepid, I should say, to pick who they want to pick. Maybe they like someone, but they're like, can this person win? And also, David Crowley, haven't heard about him in weeks.
Yeah,
finally got a statement in the paper because. I believe they asked for comment from him, and he's like, "Well, I think we definitely can have, someone,
a black man for governor."
Yeah. I can't remember the exact quote,
but basically that.
Yes, I hope listeners listen to this, and I know that for those of us that are constantly online listening to this stuff, it seems like, they're doing a hit right now. Normal people just like, Joel Brennan, he said this. Well, it's kind of weird. And just they don't think of it. They think, they're just reporting the news.
Yeah. They don't realize this is a behind the scenes shanking of Joel Brennan in service of another candidate.
And I'm just hoping we have more of it, because it's, again, we're still less than 100 days. And where are the ads? Is anyone talking about the Democrat? This is like the sleepiest primary of all time.
We're the meme of the guy with the stick saying, do something.
Yeah. Come on. Let's do something. Something.
Well,
get going.
Speaking of things to do, I know you said you're going to be at state convention coming up. While you're doing that, I'm going to follow in Josh Call's lead, and I'm going to be taking a $600 an hour solo time travel session. So Josh Call,
that is not a.
I'm not making this up.
Not a misquote.
So Josh Call, he in his equity inclusion plan included a curriculum by a radical leftist who sells $600 an hour solo time travel sessions. So Tiffany I think it's Jana, co-author of Subtle Acts of Exclusion, a self-described non-binary mystic and pleasure activist who sells $75 per hour tarot and oracle readings and $600 solo time sessions, was included in this. So yeah, This is someone that the DOJ and Josh Call paid for DEI training. And maybe they all took a solo times travel sesh. But what a person to pick out for this subtle acts, the author of Subtle Acts of Inclusion. The work aims at addressing insidious and damaging actions in the workplace, including microaggressions and unfounded assumptions.
Just your classic DEI. But you know what the funniest part about this is? So Josh Call, obviously running for re-election, not running for governor. Boy, it seems like Josh Call would have been a shoo-in at this point, you think?
Yeah.
For the Dem nominee, if he would have ran. Because they're so splintered. I wonder if he's regretting that.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point being, he's not going to drop out and run for governor anytime soon because he's got his little election talking point. This is an aside, but I'm going to wrap it in. He just prosecuted, and I believe it was a Milwaukee woman for Medicaid fraud.
Yes.
$2.2 million.
Who bought this? And I read the first article about this, and she bought a Mercedes-Benz. Then it said she bought Kip's custard. That's not just a brand of custard. She didn't just buy like a Nancy Pelosi's Ben and Jerry's fridge worth of Kip's.
That does
custard.
sound good though.
I know it does. I'm kind of hungry.
I really want some custard.
Me too. And it's too late. But
maybe for
that was
time.
Actually, she bought a whole ass restaurant with this money. She bought a whole ass car wash with this restaurant with this money.
No one ever said that criminals were very smart.
No,
maybe like, I don't know, hide it a little bit better. Maybe like a couple dollars here. No, I'm just buying a whole.
No, just take one flight to the Cayman Islands with a
straight to Gitmo. Just honestly, just these people need to be in prison for the rest of their lives.
But before we move on from this one, I do want to read from Doc. No, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Hold on. I'm bringing it back.
Okay, bring it back.
I derailed the DEI and Josh Call, this is his campaign talking point. Oh, I prosecuted fraud, which is true. You just waited till now. And maybe there weren't the cases available, but it's very convenient that he's setting this up, kind of later in the time period, right before the election starts, and those beautiful ads will come out like fighting waste, fraud, and abuse. Because regardless of what Democrats think, the Nick Shirley videos kind of like spark something in people's minds, and he's getting out in front of it. So good politician on Josh Call. However, it is so ridiculous, this story about DEI, a mystic $600 time traveler. It's almost so ridiculous that people might actually not believe it. That is the worrisome of the left, is that they do so much crazy things that normal people are like, that has to be like just hyperbole, right? That can't be real. No, it is real. And honestly, I'm tempted. If it was like $100, I'd probably buy it.
Well,
just to see it. Just to see. Like, I want to time travel. I think it'd be kind of cool.
Well, here's what you can buy on Doc Jana's website.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to read some of these.
I'm scared.
Again, it just swings so wildly.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that before you read those.
She will do a business healthcare consultation, 30 minutes for $15.
Okay, that's not bad.
Business and career coaching, $600 for an hour. Enterprise consultation, $1,000.
$1,000.
So that's normal stuff.
That's normal.
Yeah. You scroll down a little. Tarot or oracle reading, $75 an hour.
That's actually not too bad.
You get the whole year, 2026 year tarot oracle reading, 30 minutes for $75. Or you want manifestation coaching?
Manifestation.
$600 an hour. I don't even know what that is.
Oh gosh, it's 600. Oh, I bet that's just like, I'm gonna get this promotion. I'm gonna get this promotion. We're gonna make a it's
vision
gonna be
board?
like the Matt Walsh when he interviews what's that one white fragility lady at the end. It's going to be like that. It's just struggle session.
Yeah. So we go further on. Spiritual support consultation, $600 an hour for spiritual consultation support. Now, if there's any priests, Catholic priests reading this, you are on the wrong line. You should be charging for the hour. Here's the best one. Here's my best one. Virtual sound healing. Not even in the same space. They're going to rub some bowls with mallets for you virtually for $200.
Wow.
I will do it for $100.
I do it for $50.
Small business, but it goes back. Small business leadership hotline, $600 for an hour. But then it is, compassion key session.
This is just like,
and then of course the solo time travel session. Let's look at this. Oh, doesn't really give you a whole lot. Just tells you when you can schedule. And she's all booked on the 13th. No available.
Who's going to bite the bullet and do this? So, but the problem is, then they'll know who I am.
We'll record the whole thing.
I'd rather not do that.
Yeah. But
certainly interesting.
Maybe I get a tarot or oracle reading.
Tarot, though, isn't that stuff like?
I mean, besides complete hokum.
Yeah, but maybe this is a
dipping into some mysticism. Yeah,
mysticism, not great. I'm not saying it's like demon possession stuff, but hey, when you open the door for something like that, you're asking for stuff to walk through. Okay, and I don't really like to mess with that. It's like the Ouija board stuff. Oh, it's made by Fisher Price. Okay, yeah, seems okay. Then it's like, don't want to mess with that.
Don't screw with that stuff. But final piece here, got to bring it back around to TT, Tom Tiffany, who committed one of the gravest sins a politician could possibly make. And what's actually really disappointing about this, so it ran in the Milwaukee Courier by Drake Bentley, who has proven himself to be an absolute hack and not even worth the Journal Sentinel's time, and couldn't even oust James Causey or some of the other, race baiting writers for the Journal Sentinel. So he had to go to the Milwaukee Courier to do it. But actually what's really disappointing is AJ Byattpour fell for this. He got suckered into talking about this.
Maybe it was just because he needed to. I'm trying to be charitable to AJ.
Slow news day or something.
Because I don't think that AJ was taking the angle from it that.
Yeah, but
that Drake Bentley was.
The recent TV ad that Tom Tiffany put out that says he's cliche, that we've talked about, we like it. I think it's good. I actually went on Reddit, saw that there were libs on Reddit complaining about how good this ad is. That means it's doing something. Mm-hmm. So he says, I love the Packers, Brewers, Badgers, and Old Fashions and everything Wisconsin. Well, he left out the Bucks from this. And Drake Bentley, of course, says it's intentional to omit the Bucks from those teams considered they are in the NBA and part of one of the 4 major sports leagues in the country. Further, the Bucks arena is part publicly funded, which Tom Tiffany voted for, and faced strong opposition as a result. And that's the entire length of the article. Now, of course, Tom's like, it's an extra word. Probably didn't flow well. Who knows? Like,
it's also like, and this might upset Bucks fans, but Wisconsin cares about the Packers and the Brewers
and the Badgers.
Yeah. Not that they don't care about the Bucks.
Yeah.
But the Badgers, the Brewers, and the Packers just have like universal like state. I'm not saying like appeal, but like the Bucks seem very regional compared to
you know what it is. And I've said I think it's kind of true of the Brewers.
And that's not like a knock on the Bucks. No. It's just kind of the reality.
The thing is, for most of my life, the Bucks sucked. Terrible. I mean, once the 80s, they were one of the 4 best teams. You watch the Jordan documentary, and the early part of that is how it was the Bucks, the Pistons, the Celtics, and then the Bulls were this upstart team that were coming along. And the Bucks fell off, and they fell off hard. And for most of the 90s, couple little early 2000s had some success. They were a bad team. And I think Milwaukee and Wisconsin has dealt with them being bad for so long that they're, even though they won a championship now 4 or 5 seasons ago, like they're the first team to be forgotten about. They're the first team to be abandoned for fair weather, by fair weather or, casuals. I think the Brewers,
100%.
the Brewers
have a core group.
Yeah, but they've been successful now for they made playoffs 7 of the last 8 years. Like that is a long run. They've made it deep into the playoffs. But again, I think if they had a couple 2-3 down seasons, that ad in 2030 is I love the Packers, the Badgers, and Old Fashions. Like they have if the Brewers go on a downturn, they get cut from this too. Yeah. I think it just comes down to because they were terrible in the 90s too. Yeah, they were terrible in the 2000s. Like they went a long stretch without being good, and I think it's really what it comes down to is like when the team is bad, it's the first thing that can be dropped. But
the thing that's annoying about this is not a story.
No,
this is such a non-story.
This is just the message testing on the latest hit to see if it works, to see if Tom Tiffany is a Bucks fan. And
which is why
that matter.
I was a little confused at AJ.
Yeah, like he should be smarter than that.
Well, I mean, he goes where other reporters don't go for stories. So like, I'm not going to dog on him for this. Mm-hmm. However, Drake Bentley, this seems like what's the point
it's
of this?
super race coded.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't like it.
Yeah,
you know, and I'm not trying to like. I don't want to even get into it, but it's just, it seems like what's the point of this? Are you just trying to say, oh, Tom doesn't like Milwaukee, which is like he's subtly racist against Milwaukee or something? It's like, God,
because
come on.
The NBA is a predominantly black.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. I mean, he can mention the Bucks, and of course, he said in the AJ interviews, like, "Yep, I hope that the Bucks keep Giannis." You know, it's like, okay,
yeah. That's what most Wisconsinites probably think about the Bucks. It's how they spend time. But again, he didn't mention the Admirals. He didn't mention the Wave, the Dockhounds, the Phoenix, the Panthers, the Golden Eagles, the Timber Rattlers, the Sky Carp, the Milkmen, the Mallards, the Loggers, the Dock Spiders, the Rockers, the Kingfish, the Chinooks, the Woodchucks, the Express, the Herd, the Blizzard, or Forward Madison. So
shame on him.
Yeah, shame on him for forgetting the Northwoods Baseball League, the American Association, whatever league the Forward Madison soccer is. Like does he not care about indoor football? Like, come on.
Hey, indoor football is pre-based. It's a lot of fun.
No doubt.
I understand.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't like it.
As a Marquette Golden Eagles grad, as a Marquette graduate, he didn't mention the Golden Eagles, but he mentioned the Badgers. I'm not super offended by it, but he mentioned the Golden Eagles next one.
Yeah.
Have a little Warrior logo hanging in the background.
Must have been a really slow news day.
Yeah.
Where we have to nitpick an ad that's been out for 3 weeks now? Maybe even a month?
Yeah, they're getting around to it.
They just, he didn't mention the Bucks. It's like, what do they have, like morning news? Oh, God, what do we have to report on? I don't know. Try to find something in that ad. Oh, he didn't say the Bucks. Perfect. That's our end. What? Whatever. I'm done talking about this. For that, thank you to everyone that's turned in non-signatures for Kirk Bangstad.
And thank you to everyone who's tuned in for the first time recently, or our OG listeners, and everyone who's making this pod successful. If you like what you hear, make sure to leave us that 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. We'll read your reviews on air if you leave one on Apple Pod. If you want more content, check out what we're writing at the Heartland Post. This week, I wrote about the hypocrisy, of course, of the left regarding Christian counseling versus trans surgeries. Shadow Gov, you want to plug anything there? No? Of course, if you want to learn more about us or have any questions, hit us up via email at newfashionpod@gmail.com. Find us on Rumble, YouTube, Substack at New Fashion Conservatives, on X at New Fashion Pod, and have a great Monday.